I came into the community about, well, I read the game. I read the game probably a little over 2 years ago. And what I did was, I never read the whole thing. I read part of it. And it was given to me by my ex-girlfriend. And she was like, haha, this is, some funny shit. And I read it, and I'm like, yeah, dude, these people look like freaks. And then immediately afterwards, I went online and looked it all up. and immediately I bought stuff. And immediately I was looking at ebooks and things like that. And actually all those ebooks probably said everything right. I still have them somewhere. But I never did any of them. And so that was kind of the problem with it. And I went about 9 months in that. And then I was like, dude, I got to take a boot camp. And I finally took a boot camp, and it was awesome. It changed my entire life. Sin was actually one of the instructors, Captain Jack, 10 Magnet, and one other dude who I don't know his little name deal. But it was an amazing experience, and it changed my life. And when I started to get good at it, I happened to live in the same city as Captain Jack. And after about 4 months, I really started to get good with this thing and be able to actually, approach and get numbers and get makeouts and all this stuff, right? And then Captain Jack was telling me, hey, dude, you're really good. Let me give you a few pointers. And I took them, and I went with them and ran and got even better. And, then they were like, hey, you could instruct. You could instruct with us. And, I'll hook you up with Sin. And I started to instruct. And all these things happened, and it got to so much to the point where, and I think everybody can relate with this, where you get to the point where you get fluent in it, and you kind of wonder, man, am I doing the right thing, or am I living the lifestyle I wanted? I just had this awesome night where I was sitting in VIP, and fucking chicks were all over me, and you go home, and maybe you have a chick in your bed, or maybe you don't, and it's just like, shit. Life becomes somewhat unfulfilling. And my background has always been, basically right now I'm 30, and when I was, yesterday, how many people are over 21 here? There's a bunch of you guys. How many people are over 25? All right, jeez. How many people are 30? All right, yes! but in any case, when I was thinking about this stuff, in my experience, I was always like a kid that got into a lot of trouble. I had an interesting childhood, and I think everybody can relate with that. We all come from some sort of Jerry Springer society. And one of the things that has helped me a lot, even back then, because I had big changes which happened when I was around 17 to 20, used to be into a lot of drugs and shit, and fucking up a lot of stuff. Of course, I didn't learn how to talk to women, which lent me to end up here. But I learned kind of how to deal with certain things, and I ended up having to kind of resurrect that in my time in the community here. And actually in the past, I'd say 2 months or so, I've had the fortune to work with a lot of students who've ended up kind of teaching me. And so one of the things I wanted to talk about were your motives coming into this, your expectations from it, and your perception of what the community is supposed to draw towards you. And so on that sheet, there's something which talks about those things. If you take the time while I'm talking to fill out some of the things of what you might have towards expectations or towards motives, towards gaming, towards your personal self, that would be positive and negative, and how they're all neatly laid out there. But and even your perceptions on things. We can get into that a little bit later. But let's see, where the fuck was I? This never happens. When does any of you guys see me on stage when I start to freeze up? I always can talk. But so in any case, 6 weeks ago I started working with a lot of guys that really helped me out and seeing a lot of things, and it made me look back. It made me look back to where I was in this point where, shit, man, why did I get involved in this? I wanted to be involved in the community, basically when I signed up, to meet people, to meet the women that I wanted, and to have maybe multiple girlfriends, to be able to. I always had a cool identity. I worked as a photographer. I had traveled all around playing music. I had, worked in film and theater quite a bit. And I always was surrounded by a lot of people, yet at the same time I had a girlfriend that I always thought in the back of my head, man, maybe I could get somebody better. Or maybe, I like that girl over there, but I don't know how to talk to her. And that all got solved for me about like 5 months in the community, where I learned how to do that. But then later, as my pua-ness arose, my motives and my expectations changed. I wanted to actually compete, which can be a healthy motivator, which can be something which you can use to empower. But at the same time, I used it a little bit more to do that AMOG thing. And it's funny because the voice that I'm hearing from a lot of the instructors this time is more along the lines of like, hey, we respect each other. This is the first time that I've been involved with a lot of different people who teach in this thing, where people are actually coming together. And it was awesome to see, yesterday when I saw a lot of the instructors come in and kind of drop some of that ego. Because I've always thought that was a weird thing about the community. And what happened was, God, man, maybe about, I'd say like, right about at the turn of the year, I wasn't necessarily in the best space game-wise, because as Adam said earlier yesterday, that the game can be like a dangerous thing. It could be something where it is you can use it in a lot of the wrong directions, and I definitely have. I mean, I can sit here and talk about a lot of the different stories, I guess, in terms of like, different sexual escapades and screwing over this person and that person. But what I wanted to bring was that there's more to it. And that's kind of the essence of what I do with the stacks that I do. And so how many people here have heard about like what I write? Come on, I wish there were more than that. Really? But basically what I write is if you give me like the story of your life, I kind of turn it into, I don't necessarily want to say a script, but I turned it into like a 90-page document of what how to properly DHV yourself, properly talk about yourself, and also use stuff like framing and all sorts of interesting theoretical stuff, which actually Sin touched on a great deal yesterday, but like working qualification and cold reading and all that sort of stuff into aspects about your life. But what people are always surprised about when they send me these profiles, and again, if you have time, read the one that I attached there, is they send me these stories, and every time they tell me like, dude, are you going to be able to work with that? All this shit about my mom in the past, and actually the guys who I sent is, it's pretty intense. But it's always a pleasure for me to be able to work with those things. And where that comes from is just, I think, my background, and where I see the community changing is going in that direction, where people are talking about intergame stuff. I hear Tyler, and somebody who I respect very much in the community, I met him and spent a week with him in Hawaii, is TD, and he really changed my perspective on things. And it was actually at that turning point where I was like, dude, am I still going to teach? Am I still going to add something to this? Or am I going to, just kind of stop because it's getting out of hand? And I don't know how many people there can relate with that. How many people have been involved in this for 3 months or more? And then how many people like 6 months or more? And so a lot of you guys can very fluidly kind of like open up sets, and you get that attraction stuff going, and it feels good. No? Yes? Maybe so. and it feels good, and it's something which keeps you going. But at the same time, how many of you guys feel at the same time where you don't feel so great afterwards, where it's just kind of like a bummer? Nobody, huh? What the fuck? And how many of you guys, like, this is another thing that a lot of instructors will talk about, is, we've all done this and had awesome experiences with women, but at the same time, we've also had some terrible ones. In fact, like my worst relationships have happened in the community, not outside of it. Anybody relate with that? This gentleman up here is the only honest man. But for me, so that was something that I wanted to, oh, I see you. But for me, it was something that I wanted to teach guys. It's like, look, dude, we package this thing like we're teaching you guys how to get women, and that's great, and that's something which drew me to it. But at the same time, that only lasts for a couple months. That only lasts as food for us for a little bit of time. And what facilitates all those things, what makes your state work, which makes your your attitude, your general presentation, that's what I feel attraction generally is. What propels that is your lifestyle, what you feel about yourself. And with myself, and especially in the people who I've worked with and had the fortune to teach with and who've also ended up teaching me, is that I learned to take my experiences and things about myself and turn them into good things.